After a late night, President Obama and Vice President Biden hitting the road after the State of the Union, holding a town hall in Florida tonight where they're expected to make a major announcement. Our next guests are all Florida residents. They join us now with their reactions to last night's speech. Landy Wade is a college student who is attending the town hall tonight. Jim MacDougald is a retired CEO of two publicly traded companies and is now the chairman of the Free Enterprise Nation. And down at the end, we have Dale Malik, a concerned Florida resident. Both he and his wife are unemployed. Dale, let's start with you. You and your wife are unemployed. Didn't you move from somewhere else to go to Florida with the hopes of getting a job?
No, actually, we moved from the Dallas area to Florida, and I actually had a job that I had permission to work remotely from my home, and we were just here a month. And I received that phone call that my services are no longer needed by my employer.
That's exactly right. So you moved from Texas to Florida to work, and then the rug was pulled out from underneath you. Did the president, did he seem to be talking to you, sir, regarding jobs? Did you hear something that gave you hope that you're going to find a job?
No, unfortunately not. The president's speech primarily was focused on infrastructure jobs, manufacturing, and I'm in the IT industry, and I feel that I'm still on my own to find the job, and I'm hoping that some of the things that he's putting out there will give businesses more incentive to hire people like myself, but I don't think any of his programs will directly impact me at this point.
Well, Jim, you've run a couple of businesses. Did you find his address last night to be business friendly?
No, not at all. What I saw was him promising to give everybody more money, giving students more money, more student loans. He's going to have more federal government programs. He never mentioned the fact that Social Security is bankrupt, and there's a huge problem. Didn't even mention it. Wasn't on his radar screen. So we didn't see any correlation between what he was talking about and what we think it's going to take to make the economy take off again.
Well, Jim, yesterday the Wall Street Journal previewed the fact that the president was going to talk about tax cuts on capital gains for small businesses. Isn't that a step in the right direction?
It's a micro step in the right direction. The problem is when you have $3 trillion in debt in over 2 years that you have no idea how you're going to pay back on top of another $14 trillion, and you're going to give more money away and you have no idea who's going to pay for it. It just isn't true that taxes aren't going to go up. Taxes are going to have to go up everywhere. And then he's going to introduce cap and trade, which is another tax.
All right. Now, Landy, we want you to weigh in on the other side of this timeout because we mentioned student loans. Also, you're going to the event tonight to listen to the president and vice president. So, guys, stand by live down there in Florida as we continue our panel on what they want to hear from the president and vice president tonight.
Let's tell another 1 million students that when they graduate, they will be required to pay only 10% of their income on student loans. And all of their debt will be forgiven after 20 years, and forgiven after 10 years if they choose a career in public service. Because in the United States of America, no one should go broke because they chose to go to college.
All right, we're continuing our conversation with three people who are down in Florida. The President of the United States is going to have a town hall today in the noon hour. Landy Wade, that last comment was really kind of directed at you. You're an 18-year-old college student studying political science down there in Florida. I bet you liked what the president had to say regarding student loans last night.
Yes, I did. I think he outlined good, excuse me. We have, by only having to pay 10% of a student's income, it's really gonna, when a student first gets out of college, starts getting their job, they're at the minimum base of a salary.
Sure.
So only having to pay 10% is how they're gonna stay and not get financially sunk.
Right. And Landy, generally, what kind of a grade would you give the President of the United States for his performance and his message last night?
Well, last night I would give him an A. This past year it's been a B. We saw a different president of the United States last night. He came out strong as a leader, and we didn't really see that this past year.
All right. Jim, you're a retired CEO. You've run a couple of businesses. What kind of a grade would you give the President of the United States?
I'd give him an A on speech giving and a D on results and plans. He's just disconnected from reality of the trillions of dollars of debt that he's building up, and he has no possible way of paying it, and he's saying that nobody's going to have to pay. Don't worry about it. We're just going to keep giving everybody more money. He just isn't on the same planet that the rest of us are on.
Dale, what kind of a grade would you give the president?
I'd split the difference. I'd give him a B. He's our leader. We expect him to lead us, and he's realizing that he's need to make some adjustments in that area. So he's going to be our leader, and now we need for our Congress to do the legislature and to make some laws and to govern and do their jobs as a team. I mean, that's the one thing I hope that we're going to start to see coming forward in the next year.
Well, a lot of people feel the same way, Dale. And interestingly, you know, it seems as if ever since Scott Brown up in Massachusetts, health care is suddenly on the back burner. But I know you, sir, Dale, are concerned about health care because right now you found yourself out of work, both you and your wife, and you are terrified about what's going to happen when your COBRA runs out, if your COBRA runs out. Do you really want government involved in your health care?
Well, my situation is I'm not sure what else to do. My insurance is tripled under the COBRA program. It'll triple again before COBRA runs out, and at that 18-month point, if my wife and I don't have a job with benefits, we are not going to be able to get health care. We've got we have a number of issues that will prevent us from being able to get health care at an affordable rate.
Sure.
So we are terrified that if at the 18-month point that if we don't have something else happening, we're going to be in trouble financially, at least.
And Jim, I alluded to this a moment ago. When the president and vice president come down to Florida, they're going to be announcing an $8 billion high-speed rail program. You know, you're a guy who was tasked with creating jobs. Is that going to help us? Is that going to create jobs for people like Dale who are out of work?
Well, what the president didn't say is that in January, he signed an executive order that the government can require anyone who does a contract with the government for construction of $25 million or more, the government can require that they and all their subcontractors be unionized. So I'm very, very suspicious when the government says we're going to provide huge contracts, that it isn't just another method of forcing unionization on a population that has generally rejected it during the course of the last several decades.
And you might wonder whether or not there's more of that down the pike, because the president did last night talk about a big jobs program that he would like Congress to get on his desk promptly. All right, Landy Wade, Jim MacDougald, and Dale Malik. Gentlemen, we thank you all for joining us today from Florida.
Thank you.
All right.